In what can only be described as an explosive revelation, Candace Owens has brought to light one of the most shocking cases of blackmail and manipulation ever uncovered within a local political scene. Tiffany Henyard, a once respected figure in the community, has been exposed as the mastermind behind a dangerous and calculated blackmail operation that has ensnared a wide range of residents, from ordinary citizens to powerful political figures. Through a combination of manipulation, coercion, and political influence, Henyard used her position to force her victims into silence and compliance, all while gaining power and control over their lives. Tiffany Henyard, who was previously considered a trusted political player with a network of connections, has now become the subject of public scrutiny. She had managed to climb the political ladder through what seemed like hard work and dedication, building relationships and presenting herself as someone to be trusted in the political community. But behind the scenes, Henyard's ambition knew no bounds. She realized that in the political world, power and information were the most valuable commodities, and she learned how to wield both in ways that most could never imagine. This allowed her to operate with near impunity, using secrets and personal vulnerabilities as her weapons of choice. The true scale of Henyard's blackmailing scheme is still coming to light, but one thing is clear: she used her political influence to gather compromising information on her victims, who ranged from everyday citizens to well-placed political figures. Henyard wasn't just targeting individuals for money or revenge. Her actions were part of a broader scheme to maintain power, silence those who could potentially expose her, and control those in positions of influence. She played a dangerous game, knowing exactly how to use her position to extract secrets from those who trusted her, only to later use those secrets to manipulate and blackmail them. Henyard's political connections were key to her ability to execute such an extensive blackmail plot. Her involvement in local politics gave her access to powerful networks and influential people who, knowingly or unknowingly, allowed her to weave a web of influence that extended far beyond what anyone realized. For years, she was able to operate in the shadows, using her political reach to maintain control over her victims and keep her actions hidden from the public eye. This made her one of the most dangerous and elusive figures in the community, someone who could ruin the lives of anyone who crossed her path while remaining seemingly untouchable. But Candace Owens, known for her relentless pursuit of truth, has made it her mission to uncover the full extent of Henyard's actions. Through careful investigation, Owens has uncovered emails, phone records, and testimonies from several victims, all of whom reveal how Henyard used a combination of charm, manipulation, and fear to coerce them into complying with her demands. Each victim's story adds to the chilling portrait of Henyard's behavior, showing just how far she was willing to go to maintain her hold over others. One victim, who was both a business leader and a political figure, described their experience with Henyard, saying, "At first, I never thought Tiffany could be capable of something like this. She came across as so genuine, always helping people, always giving advice. I trusted her with everything, until I realized that everything I told her was being used against me. She had so much information, and every time I tried to pull away, she would threaten to expose me. It was like I was trapped in her web, and I couldn't escape." Owens' investigation has uncovered that Henyard didn't just use the information for financial gain. Instead, her manipulation was deeply rooted in her desire for power. Henyard's ability to control people through their secrets wasn't just a way to extract money or favors. It was about maintaining dominance. She created an environment of fear and submission, where her victims lived in constant anxiety, knowing that any misstep could lead to the destruction of their careers, their relationships, or even their entire lives. As Owens delves deeper into the case, it becomes evident that Henyard used every resource at her disposal to keep her victims under her control, ensuring that they could never speak out without facing dire consequences. The most chilling part of this investigation is the realization that Tiffany Henyard wasn't working alone. While she was the mastermind, there are indications that she may have had accomplices who helped her collect information, intimidate victims, and maintain her hold over the community. Owens' investigation is now uncovering a far-reaching network of political players, business leaders, and others who may have turned a blind eye to Henyard's actions or, worse, were complicit in enabling her to carry out her plot. As more details emerge, it's clear that Henyard's actions weren't isolated. They were part of a much larger and more sophisticated campaign to manipulate those around her for personal and political gain. What's more, the legal consequences for Henyard are now stacking up. She is facing multiple criminal charges, including blackmail, extortion, and the abuse of power, all of which are serious offenses with long-lasting consequences. As authorities dig into her activities, they are uncovering not just her personal criminal behavior, but the possibility that she may have used her political influence to obstruct justice or protect her from scrutiny. The full extent of her manipulation could lead to an even broader investigation into her political dealings, as it's becoming increasingly clear that Henyard's power wasn't just in her ability to blackmail. She had the means to cover up her crimes for years. For Tiffany Henyard, the fallout from her blackmail scheme has been nothing short of catastrophic. Once regarded as a rising star within the political arena, Henyard's meteoric rise seemed unstoppable. She was admired for her charm, political acumen, and connections, positioning herself as a trusted ally to many in the community. However, that illusion has now shattered, and Henyard's reputation, once meticulously cultivated, is now in tatters. The public, once supportive of her political ambitions, is now turning its back on her as the full extent of her criminal actions comes to light. The community that once held her in high regard is grappling with the revelation that Henyard, whom many had trusted, used her political connections to manipulate, extort, and blackmail those around her. What had seemed like a promising political career has now become the center of a scandal that could haunt the community for years to come. The people who once stood by her side, offering support and belief in her ability to make a difference, are now distancing themselves, their faith shattered by her betrayal. As more and more details of Henyard's blackmail plot come to the surface, it becomes clear that the consequences of her actions extend far beyond her own reputation. The victims who once feared retaliation, the people whose lives were upended by Henyard's manipulation, are now coming forward, emboldened by the knowledge that her power, which once seemed all-encompassing, is no longer an obstacle. Many of them have long been silenced by the threat of exposure, but with Candace Owens leading the charge to bring this case to the public's attention, they feel empowered to share their stories and seek justice. For Henyard, the legal consequences of her actions are now unavoidable. The investigation, which started as a trickle of suspicious activity, has grown into a full-fledged criminal inquiry. Authorities are combing through her political ties, financial records, and communication channels in search of the full extent of her blackmail scheme. Charges are piling up: blackmail, extortion, abuse of power, and the mounting evidence against her is making it harder for her to mount a defense. As the case progresses, it becomes increasingly likely that Henyard will face a lengthy and high-profile trial, where the scope of her actions will be laid bare for all to see. While her political career, once filled with promise, crumbles under the weight of these revelations, Henyard's fall from grace has broader implications. It has shattered the perception of political integrity in the community, leaving a stain on the local political landscape that may take years to wash away. The very foundation of trust, which was built on relationships and shared goals, has been eroded. No longer will her allies view her as the person they once knew. Many are reconsidering their past associations with her, and some are even cooperating with law enforcement to ensure that the full extent of her manipulation is exposed. Candace Owens, known for her unwavering commitment to exposing corruption and injustice, has made it her mission to ensure that Tiffany Henyard faces the full consequences of her actions. Owens' deep dive into Henyard's life and criminal activities has revealed a web of manipulation that stretched far beyond what was initially understood. The victims, some of whom held powerful political positions themselves, are now speaking out, sharing their experiences, and helping to expose the true nature of Henyard's blackmail plot. These brave individuals, who once lived in fear of Henyard's retribution, are now finding solace in the public exposure of her actions. The truth is finally coming out, Candace Owens asserts, making it clear that this is just the beginning of the story. Tiffany Henyard can no longer hide behind her political connections or use her power to manipulate those around her. The victims are coming forward, and we will ensure that justice is served. Henyard may have used her influence to control others, but now she will be held accountable, not just in the courtroom, but also in the court of public opinion. Her political career is over, and she will face the consequences of her manipulation, blackmail, and the exploitation of an entire community. As the investigation continues to unfold, new revelations are coming to light almost daily. Authorities are uncovering shocking details about Henyard's past dealings, her political maneuvering, and the countless lives she impacted with her ruthless tactics. It's clear that Henyard's actions were far-reaching, and as more victims come forward, the full scale of her blackmail operation is becoming clearer. With each new piece of evidence, Henyard's carefully constructed political persona continues to disintegrate, leaving behind the wreckage of a career built on lies and manipulation. But this isn't just about the damage Henyard has caused to her own career. It's about the lives of the people she has victimized, many of whom have been living in fear for far too long. These victims are now finding their voices, and with each story that emerges, the true extent of Henyard's manipulation becomes more evident. These individuals, who were once intimidated by the power and influence that Henyard wielded, are now speaking out, determined to hold her accountable for the years of harm she caused. As the legal process progresses, the investigation into Tiffany Henyard's extensive blackmail scheme is raising many complex and pressing questions. One of the most critical is how far Henyard's influence truly reached. Was she operating alone, or did she have allies in positions of power who helped her orchestrate her plot? Could her political connections have shielded her from scrutiny, allowing her to evade justice for so long? These unanswered questions loom over the investigation, leaving the public and law enforcement alike searching for the full extent of her operations. Every new detail that emerges adds layers of complexity, making it harder to determine just how deep her control over the political landscape really was. For years, Henyard was able to operate under the radar, using her political connections to manipulate and coerce those around her. Her rise to prominence seemed like a success story, someone who worked her way up through the political ranks, earning respect and trust. But as more victims come forward and more pieces of evidence are uncovered, it's becoming clear that her rise was not built solely on hard work and political savvy. Instead, it was propelled by manipulation, deceit, and the exploitation of sensitive information to control and blackmail those around her. But how did Henyard gain such power in the first place? How did she manage to manipulate influential individuals without attracting attention? These questions are central to the investigation as law enforcement scrambles to untangle the web of influence she spun. Candace Owens, known for her relentless pursuit of the truth, has been at the forefront of this investigation, determined to expose every layer of Henyard's actions. Owens is not only focusing on the blackmail and extortion, but is also shedding light on Henyard's political connections and the roles they played in enabling her actions. Who else was complicit? Did Henyard have powerful allies who turned a blind eye to her methods or actively participated in her schemes? These are questions that Owens is determined to answer, and with each new revelation, the investigation deepens. There are signs that Henyard's influence was not confined to a single region or even a specific party. Her ability to network and build relationships with high-profile individuals in various political circles could have given her the leverage she needed to avoid detection for so long. But now, as the evidence begins to mount, it's clear that those who were once part of Henyard's political sphere may have unwittingly, or perhaps knowingly, enabled her to carry out her scheme. The full scope of Henyard's actions is still being uncovered, but one thing is becoming abundantly clear. The damage she has caused is vast and irreversible. Her political career, once thought to be on an upward trajectory, has now fallen into complete disarray. The scandal surrounding her blackmail plot has destroyed her reputation and shattered any remaining trust in her. What was once a promising career built on political alliances and public support has turned into a cautionary tale of manipulation, greed, and deception. For Tiffany Henyard, the future that once seemed so bright is now filled with uncertainty as her past actions are exposed for all to see. As the investigation continues to unfold, the public is beginning to see just how far-reaching Henyard's influence truly was. Once a figure who held political power and influence, she is now under intense scrutiny. Whether or not she ultimately faces a lengthy prison sentence remains to be seen, but it's clear that her political career is over. The damage to her reputation is irreversible, and any hope she may have had of regaining public trust has vanished. No matter the outcome of her legal battles, Henyard's legacy is forever tarnished by the crimes she committed. For the victims of Henyard's blackmail plot, justice is now within reach. These individuals, who were once silent out of fear of retribution, are now speaking out, sharing their experiences, and exposing the full extent of Henyard's manipulation. Their voices, once stifled by the powerful grip Henyard had on them, are finally being heard. The legal system is catching up with Henyard, and the public is demanding accountability for the harm she caused. Each victim's testimony adds another layer to the story, revealing just how far Henyard was willing to go to maintain her power and control. And as more victims come forward, the weight of her actions grows heavier. As the investigation deepens, it's clear that Henyard's path to justice will be a long and challenging one. The legal consequences she faces are significant. She stands accused of multiple charges, including blackmail, extortion, and abuse of power. The complexity of her case means that it will take time for the legal system to unravel all the details and determine her fate. But one thing is certain: Tiffany Henyard will not be able to escape the consequences of her actions. Whether through a lengthy prison sentence or the lasting stain of a criminal conviction, the damage she has caused will follow her for the rest of her life. The fight for justice is not just about the legal process, however. It's also about the long-term effects of Henyard's actions on the community she once served. Trust in the political system has been eroded, and it may take years to restore the faith that was shattered by her manipulations. Her actions have shown the danger of unchecked political power, and the consequences of such behavior will likely reverberate throughout the community for a long time. For the victims, the road to healing is just beginning. While they are now able to speak out and share their stories, the emotional toll of Henyard's blackmail and manipulation will take time to overcome. Many of them have suffered in silence for years, living under the constant threat of exposure and ruin. But now, with the truth finally coming to light, they can begin to reclaim their lives and move forward. And though justice may take time, the growing momentum of this investigation shows that those responsible for enabling Henyard's actions will also be held accountable. As Tiffany Henyard's story continues to unravel, it serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and manipulation. Her downfall is a testament to the resilience of the truth and the pursuit of justice as more victims find their voices and demand accountability. The legal process is ongoing, but one thing is certain: justice will prevail. As this case develops, make sure you stay informed. Follow Candace Owens as she uncovers more details, and keep an eye on the evolving investigation. Don't miss any updates on this explosive story. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit the like button, share with others, and subscribe for more updates. Your support helps us continue to bring important stories like this to light. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more.